21 people are dead. 12 of them were foreign nationals trapped in a burning hotel in New Delhi. And the story behind what actually happened is far worse than the initial reports suggest. Stay with me, because once you see the full picture of how this fire spread and why so many people couldn't escape, you're going to understand exactly how a modern city with world-class hospitals and infrastructure can still allow something this catastrophic to happen in the middle of its most developed neighborhoods. So, here's what we're figuring out together. First, how does a hotel operating in one of India's safest districts have only a single functional exit when fire codes require multiple escape routes? Second, why did the owner knowingly overcrowd the building with patients seeking cheap medical treatment, turning it into a makeshift recovery facility instead of a proper hotel? And third, how many other illegal properties are operating right now across Delhi using the exact same model, and what's actually going to stop the next fire from happening tomorrow? We'll get to all three. But to make sense of any of it, you need to understand one thing about how guest houses and budget hotels actually operate in India's major cities. They're not regulated like you think they are. The Florence Stay BNB Hotel sits in Malviya Nagar, one of Delhi's most expensive and supposedly safest residential zones. The owner, Lokesh Bajaj, made a simple calculation. He had a building. He could fit more people into it if he removed walls, added extra rooms, and advertised cheap rates to medical patients. People recovering from surgery, people undergoing treatment at nearby Apollo Hospital and Max Healthcare, they needed somewhere affordable to stay. Bajaj saw an opportunity. So he packed more beds into the basement. He packed more beds into the upper floors. He didn't add emergency exits. He didn't upgrade fire suppression systems. He just added bodies. When the fire broke out on Wednesday morning, it spread with impossible speed. The basement filled with smoke first. People trapped upstairs had nowhere to go. A single functional exit. That's it, and one stairwell for a building he'd been quietly expanding for years. The sensor gates that should have activated during the fire? They failed. The fire alarms? Delayed response. The fire trucks? They couldn't reach the basement quickly enough because the building layout had been so heavily modified that even the fire department's maps were wrong. 12 of the 21 dead were foreign nationals. Nigerian nationals, Kyrgyz nationals, Liberians, Uzbeks, people who came to India seeking medical treatment and ended up in a building that should never have been operating as a hotel. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs is now in damage control mode, contacting embassies, extending condolences, promising assistance. But here's what matters. They're not promising to explain how this building passed any inspection. Because it probably didn't. During interrogation, Bajaj told police something that reveals the entire problem. He said he had no idea such an incident could happen. Think about that. A man who deliberately overcrowded a building, who removed safety features to add more rooms, who specifically marketed to vulnerable medical patients. He's genuinely shocked that a fire spread uncontrollably. That's not negligence. That's a complete absence of safety consciousness. And he's not unique. Police say 3 partners operated this hotel. These same 3 partners own several other hotels and guest houses across Delhi. Several other properties using the same model. The preliminary investigation found violations that should have been impossible to miss. Single functional exit. That's not a gray area. That's a direct violation of Indian building codes. Failed sensor gates. Someone installed them wrong or never maintained them. Overcrowding on basement and upper floors, and that's documented, that's visible, that's something any inspector walking through would see immediately. But nobody stopped it. Nobody inspected it. Or they inspected it and took a bribe and looked the other way. Now Delhi's Chief Minister's office is ordering a magisterial probe. An FIR has been registered against Bajaj, and they're announcing a citywide crackdown against illegal properties and unauthorized guest houses. But here's the thing that actually matters. They're announcing this after 21 people are dead, not before. The crackdown should have happened months ago. The inspection should have happened months ago. The arrest should have happened months ago. Instead, Bajaj was operating freely, expanding his illegal medical recovery facility, packing more vulnerable people into a building with a single exit, right up until the moment the fire started. What you're watching is a cascade failure. Not one person failed. Not one system failed. The building owner failed to install proper safety features. The building inspectors failed to catch it. The fire department's response was delayed because the building layout was undocumented. The sensor gates failed because maintenance was ignored. The single exit became a death trap because nobody enforced the building code. And the people who died, they weren't reckless tourists. They were patients. People who were already vulnerable, already weak from medical procedures, already dependent on others to help them escape. The Ministry of External Affairs is contacting embassies. But what they're really doing is managing a diplomatic crisis. 12 foreign nationals dead in a building that should never have operated as a hotel. That's not just a tragedy. That's an indictment of a system that allows property owners to prioritize profit margins over human life. And it's happening right now in other buildings across Delhi, other overcrowded guest houses, other single-exit facilities, other places where the next fire is already waiting to happen. Bajaj said he increased rooms to expand his business. He said patients came because of lower rates. He said he had no idea this could happen. But that's a lie. Not because he's lying to police, he might actually believe it. It's a lie because the building itself tells the true story. A single exit isn't an accident. Overcrowding isn't an accident. Failed fire suppression systems aren't accidents. They're choices. Deliberate choices to maximize occupancy and minimize safety costs. And those choices killed 21 people. Here's what happens next. The police will finish their investigation. Bajaj might face charges. The other hotel operators might face scrutiny. Delhi will announce new inspection protocols. But the fundamental problem remains. There are hundreds of buildings across India's major cities operating under the same model. Cheap rates, high occupancy, minimal safety investment, maximum profit, and nobody knows which ones will catch fire next. The difference between a successful hotel and a death trap is often just a single inspection that never happens, a bribe that gets paid, an exit that never gets built. In Delhi right now, that difference is measured in bodies. 21 of them, and the system that created the conditions for this fire is still operating in the building next door.